I'm Steve Tassi, the Board Game Guru, and welcome to part 2 of my tutorial for Die Hard, the Nakatomi Heist board game. In part 1, I went over all the components, and this video, part 2, assumes that you have seen that video or are otherwise familiar with all the pieces that come in the box. As a simulation of the historical events of Christmas Eve 1988, this game works best at 4 players. It does include rules for how to play with only 2 or even just 1 person playing as the thief side of the game, and I will address those changes at the end of the tutorial. While each of the 3 acts of the game has different objectives for the 2 sides to achieve, the mechanics of the game don't actually change, save where a specific objective has some specific rules additions that need to be adhered to. The game plays out as a series of rounds. Each round consists of the following steps. McClane picks a card to play. The thieves collectively play 3 cards. McClane takes the actions on the card that they chose. The thieves then reveal their cards, work on their locks, take their actions, and then we check at the end of the round for anything that needs to happen. Picking cards to play. McClane has a hand that starts at 5, but it will go down and occasionally go back up. So McClane picks a card from their hand and puts it face down in front of them to indicate that they are now ready to go. Without speaking or otherwise communicating between themselves, the 3 thief players will choose 3 cards to play. The lead thief, that's the person with this token, will pick a card, show it to the other 2 thieves, and place it face down in front of them. So they'll say, pick this card, and they'll put it face down in front of themselves. Then the other 2 thief players, without conferring, will each pick a card to play and add it to the pile. All anyone knows is which card the lead thief played, and of course which card they themselves played. 2 of the 3 cards played by the thieves will be used for their numbers, which will allow the thieves to make progress on the locks, and 1 of the cards will be used for its actions, and its number will be ignored. Actions. There are some universal actions that both McClane and the thieves can use, and then there are some unique actions just for McClane, and some others just for the thieves. Both sides can shoot, punch, and move. McClane can also take the actions of shove, sneak, recover, and support. The thieves can take lock actions, and they can also reinforce. McClane does his actions first, and then the thieves will reveal their card and do their actions. Move X as an action means that one of the figures on the board can be moved up to that many spaces. No diagonal movement is allowed. Figures are not allowed to move through each other. Moving onto an obstacle space, that's the gray ones with the construction supplies on them, that costs an extra point of movement. There are yellow spaces. In Act 1 and 2, they are vents, and in Act 3, they are stairs. John McClane can use a move point to go from one vent to another, or from the top of a stairs to another. The thieves can only use stairs. Shoot X plus means that a figure can attempt to shoot a target. The shooter must be at least 1 space away from the target. If you are standing right next to your target, you cannot shoot them because they're just going to grab the gun and move it around. You have to have straight line of sight, and you have to roll X or higher on the combat die. Every obstacle space between the shooter and the target, including any that either of them are standing directly on, increases the difficulty of the roll by 1. Punch X plus means that a figure can punch another figure that is adjacent to it. Remember, not diagonally. Nothing in this game works on diagonals. The player must roll X or higher. If a thief is shot or punched, their figure is removed from the board. They are killed. Fortunately for the thieves are replaceable. If McClane gets shot or punched, the top card of McClane's draw pile is placed in their discard pile. If McLean ever runs out of cards, there's nothing left in the draw pile, and their hand is empty, then the thieves have killed McLean and won the game. Every time McLean gets hurt by a thief taking a punch or a shoot action, then the thieves also get to place a red cube on the draw blood objective card. Shove X plus allows McLean to push an adjacent thief to another adjacent space. McLean must roll X or greater to do it. The thief is not harmed, so they don't get killed and removed from the board. They just get moved into a new position. Sneak X lets McLean move that many spaces, but they can move through thieves, and they can also move through the obstacle spaces without paying the extra cost. In addition, if McLean has used the sneak action this turn, the thieves cannot target him with punches or shoots. Sneak can be used by McLean to go through vents or up and down stairs. The Recover X action allows McLean to put that many cards from the top of his discard pile directly into hand. Once McLean has completed the Find Radio objective in Act 1, the Support action lets McLean put red cubes onto the radio. Until the radio has been found, however, Support X does nothing. The Lock action allows the thieves to place blue cubes onto the numbered boxes of the current lock. If they fill the last box on the lock, it has been disabled and they immediately move on to the next lock. The Reinforcement option for thieves isn't actually an action that appears on a card. It is something that they can do by forfeiting all of the actions on their action card for the round. It allows them to place a new thief figure on any of the green start spaces for the act. In order to do the reinforcement, John McLean must have already killed at least one thief during the current act. Substitutions. McLean and the thieves are allowed to sacrifice either a shoot or punch action in order to use a move one action instead. Sometimes you're just not in the right position, and so giving up an attack to move puts you in position to use another attack on your action card. Once all the cards for the round have been chosen, McLean does the action or actions on their card for the current act box, and they can be done in any order. McLean has played this card, which in Act 1 allows a move 2 and a punch 3+. So McLean will move 2. And unfortunately, there's no one for him to punch, so he will just waste that action. Once McLean's actions are resolved, then the lead thief player will reveal the 3 thief cards that have been played and put them out in numerical order. The 2 extreme numbers, so the lowest and the highest, will be used to fill in lock numbers. So in this case, we have a 1, 3, and a 5. So the 1 and the 5 will get filled. Now, we could fill that 1 and that 5, but if you fill numbers that are adjacent to each other, the thieves immediately get a free bonus lock action to fill any of the cube spaces. Once the lock has been resolved, then the thief players move on to the middle card, which they then use the actions of. Again, like McLean, they can do them in any order. So they'll place another lock, and then they have 2 move 3s. 1, 2, 3. Aha, they found a hostage. And 1, 2, 3. They have found a second hostage. If the thieves' actions conclude an objective, they immediately get the benefit of that objective. Most objectives grant the thieves free lock actions. At the end of a round, after McLean's actions are resolved, after the thief's actions are resolved, then we check to see if one side has reached their victory condition, in which case the game is over, or we check to see if McLean has completed all of the objectives for the current act. If neither of these things have happened, then each thief draws a new card. The lead thief token is passed to the next player. If McLean's hand is now 2 or fewer cards, those cards will be discarded, and John draws a new hand of 5 to start the round. Otherwise, McLean goes into the next round with just the cards in hand. Objectives. In each act, there are different objectives that the two sides are each trying to achieve. In Act 1, McLean needs to find the radio and the machine gun. These are printed on the red tokens that are randomly placed on the board. And he needs to try to steal shoes from a dead thief, and then finally get to the McLean goal exit space. Once McLean has the radio, he can use the support action, and eventually will gain bonuses to attack rolls. And once McLean has found the machine gun, which comes with 3 ammo chips, and more ammo can be found in later acts, the benefit of the machine gun is that McLean can spend an ammo token to add a shoot 4+ action to the card that he has played for the round. Only 1 ammo token can be spent per round. While searching the red tokens, McLean has to be careful though, because 2 of those red tokens are threats, which are free hits that the thieves get to make against McLean. McLean is automatically hurt when he finds one of the handgun tokens, and that means that McLean loses a card from the draw pile into his discard pile. But the thieves don't get to add a cube to their draw blood objective for that. The first thief that McLean kills is going to be replaced on the board by the shoes token, and once McLean has collected that token, he has tried on some shoes and unfortunately found them to be too small, completing the find shoes objective. Once McLean has done all that, he can make his way to the McLean goal exit space and end the act, moving on to the next act. A note about McLean reaching the exit space for an act. Because McLean acts first every round, he will reach the exit before the thieves get to reveal their cards for the round. They still get to complete their turn. Because McLean has left the floor, they cannot take any actions that would attack John, but they still get to work on the locks and do any non-attack actions that would allow them to complete their own objectives. The thieves have 2 overarching objectives that span all the acts: disable the 6 locks and hurt McLean. That's draw blood. The progress that they make on these objectives transfers from one act to the next. Every time they hurt McLean, they put a cube on the draw blood objective, and when it gets filled, they get to place extra lock cubes on the board. Then they clear the draw blood objective and start it over again. Additionally, they have the act-specific optional objectives of find the hostages and track McLean. 3 of the 6 tokens on the board have hostages on them and 3 are blank. If the thieves can find the 3 hostage tokens, then they get free lock actions. To track McLean, they must simultaneously have thieves on 2 of the red spaces that McLean has already visited and removed the tokens from. If they can do that, again, more free lock actions. When the act is over, McLean needs to change their deck. Any cards that were left in hand at the end of the act, anything in the discard pile, and whatever was in the draw pile are set aside. They're gone. The cards that were in the played pile, plus the new cards for the new act, get shuffled together, and they become McLean's new draw pile for the next act. You'll do that same thing again when you change from Act 2 into Act 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make the hand. In Act 2, John McLean must find the detonators and the explosives. Like the radio and the machine gun from the previous act, these are red tokens that are randomly distributed around the board. There will also be more threats and more ammo for the machine gun. McLean must also drop the detonators and the explosives down the elevator shaft and throw a dead thief out the window in order to catch the attention of Sergeant Al Powell. After doing all of those things, McLean gets to the goal space to end the act and move on to Act 3. The first thief killed in Act 2 will get laid down on its side, and John must then go and pick him up. It will place the thief on the throw thief out the window objective card, and then if John gets to a window, boom, thief has been defenestrated. This can happen before or after McClane finds the detonators and the explosives, and before or after those are thrown down the elevator shaft. But of course, obviously, John cannot complete the throw explosives down the elevator shaft objective until he's actually found the detonators and the explosives. While John's doing all that, the thieves are still trying to draw blood by shooting or punching him. They're still trying to disable the locks, but they're also trying to shoot all the glass on this floor so that McClane cuts up his feet and gets hurt more. And they're also trying to use their rocket launchers to blow up the LAPD's armored vehicle. There are 2 spaces indicated on the board with pictures of rocket launchers. In order to shoot the armored vehicle, a thief must be standing on one of those rocket launcher spaces, and the thieves have to spend a shoot action. One of the spaces works only on even die results, the other on odd die results, or they can get a guaranteed kill by placing 2 thieves, one on each one simultaneously, and spending a shoot action. Blowing up the RV, of course, grants free lock actions for the thieves. There are several black lines shown around the board with green lines around the 2 spaces next to those black lines. These represent indoor windows on this floor. The thieves are trying to shoot all those windows to spray broken glass all over the place. Every time McClane walks over a patch of broken glass, which gets placed when the window is shot, then he is hurt and has to discard a card from the top of his draw pile. Once all the windows have been shot, the thieves, you guessed it, get some free lock actions as well. In addition to the great free lock actions that the thieves get for shooting all the glass, the more glass they shoot, the more likely it is that McClane is going to hurt himself by walking on the broken glass. In order to shoot one of the windows, the thieves must have line of sight on the black line, and again, must be at least 1 space away from it, just like shooting a regular target. However, rolls are not required. The windows aren't dodging or taking cover. It's automatic. As long as you have line of sight, boom, broken glass. Once McClane has reached his objectives and gotten to the goal space, the act is over and we move on to Act 3. Once the 3rd act begins, a new set of objectives for each side happens. McClane must perform the following things in order: scare the hostages off the roof, jump off a ledge with the fire hose, and then force Hans Gruber out a window. If McClane can accomplish these tasks, he saves the day and wins the game, becomes the hero of Nakatomi Plaza. Meanwhile, the thieves must finish disabling the 6 mechanical locks if they haven't already done that, arm the detonation sequence so that Hans can blow the roof. The large hostage token is placed on the helipad space, and in order for McClane to get the hostages off the roof, McClane must use shoot actions to fire into the air and drive the crowd towards the stairs. The hostages will only move if they are between a firing McClane and a staircase, and there isn't a thief figure between them and those stairs. Once McClane has herded the hostages to safety, he needs to maneuver himself to any of the ledge spaces, shown here, and jump off. The ledge spaces are all marked with letters, and those corresponding letters are marked on windows on the floor below. That will determine where McClane lands based on which ledge he jumped off. Once on the vault room floor, McClane must shove, shoot, and or punch Hans Gruber until he is next to a window, and then use a final shove action to push him to his death, winning the game. Unlike regular thieves, Hans cannot be killed by McClane's attack actions. He can only be moved around by them. But also, unlike regular thieves, Hans does not move when the thieves play movement actions. He can only use punch and shoot to attack John if John is in the appropriate spots. For the thieves to win, once the 6 mechanical locks have all been disabled, each of the 4 numbered detonators must be triggered in order. In order to trigger a detonator, a thief must move onto that space. If they are all armed before McClane can kill Hans, the roof is detonated, and the FBI cuts the building's power, disabling the time lock that is keeping the vault closed. With Hans alive and the vault unlocked, the thieves take the $600 million in negotiable bearer bonds and disappear to a country where they can sit on the beach and earn 20%. Now, that's how you play the game with 4 players. If you are playing with fewer than 4 players, there won't be 3 players working together as the thieves. There will only be 2 or possibly even just 1. If there's only 1 thief player, they will take 2 cards off the top of the thief deck. One is played unseen. The other they get to look at, and then they pick the final card from their hand. With 2 thief players, the lead thief will still show their selected card to the other thief player, who will then select a card of their own to play, and the 3rd card is played randomly from the top of the deck. I'm the Board Game Guru, and now you know everything you need to know to play Die Hard, the Nakatomi Heist board game from the Up. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker! Did you like that video? Then why not leave a comment on it? Did you like that video lots? Then why not also hit the thumbs up button? If you like that video more than you've ever liked anything in your life, how about a little subscribe action? Yeah. Tasty, tasty subscriptions.